Hello, my beautiful collective. This is Satya, and I'm back with another video, back with another message. I hope you are doing well. I'm coming to you today to do a seasonal birthday reading for Cancer. We are in Cancer season, and we're going to do a quick little summary about Cancer as a zodiac sign and a quick little birthday reading for all my Cancerians. So if you are a Cancer and you are celebrating, happy birthday. Cancer is a water element and it is a cardinal sign. I'm going to move my notes over here. As we all know, it is ruled by the moon. And so when we think about the moon, Cancer, water, that is all feelings. That is the mode for Cancer. It's feelings. And the motto of Cancer is I feel. So of course, there is this level of deep feelings, deep emotions, needing to go down deep into, right, the water of emotions, right, immerse ourselves and come up from that immersion with new perception, with new ideas, with new knowledge. It is very much an energy of like shadow work, right? Diving deep down, making new discoveries, and then rising once again to the surface with insight, wisdom, guidance that will point us in the right direction. Cancer is also a sign of protectiveness. The crab, right, as you can see here, is covered by a hard exoskeleton, and that hard outer surface protects the soft inside. And what that means, right, is that Cancers can be a little tough on the outside, but it's because they are so sensitive on the inside. And so there's a need, right, for people in general, but also the Cancerians and the crab as the animal to protect what's most valuable. And it's that emotion, those feelings that are hidden beneath the surface that need to be protected. We all know what it's like when someone attacks you for something that is very meaningful, or you have an emotion or a feeling that you express and then someone attacks you there, right? It's very painful. And so the crab, the Cancer, is going to protect that. The focus is also on home and family and nurturing that home, nurturing that family, right? You can have a house, but it's not really a home. You can have a place to live, but it's not really cozy and yours, right? The crab carries its home around and never, it doesn't leave its home, right? The shell is its home. And so there is a very tangible energy of home and family protecting that and nurturing that home-like environment. Again, because this is a water element, there is a big focus on the subconscious, right? The moon as illusion, as intuition, as perception, and Cancer as immersion, as going deep into the subconscious. And when we look at it that way, it's easy to make the connection to deep feelings and deep emotions. Now, when we talk about the moon, we are talking about perception, our emotions, the ever-shifting tides of emotions, and how we perceive things. Our emotions will dictate a lot of our reality. How we feel on a day-to-day influences what we do, how others, the side of us that others get. And so this ever-shifting tide of emotions, the ebbing and flowing, the high tide, the low tide, as the moon pulls and draws the waters of the ocean, right? It represents that shifting, that hidden beneath the surface. But it also symbolizes like that hidden aspect of ourselves that lies beneath the water. During high tide, you can't see, right, what's beneath the water because it's up on the tide, or it's up on the shore so far. You never really know how long, how expansive the shoreline is until low tide tends to recede, and then it shows the vast, expanse of the shore. And so this is also representative of that hidden part of ourselves, the part that lies beneath that no one knows, and that we don't know unless we immerse ourselves in that energy and deep dive and explore that. We know that the moon is not a luminary body. It doesn't produce its own light. It is a gentle reflection of the light of the sun. And so if we look at it like that, it can be reminiscent of the gentle mother, right? The divine mother, the nurturing mother who shines down or reflects light, but a gentle light, not the harsh rays of the sun, but the gentle light of the moon. And again, this is that intuition, the deep knowing, the deep dive, what's really deep inside of ourselves. That is what's reflected here. With Cancer, we have the Chariot. The Chariot is the representation of Cancer in the tarot. And it is, it's central themes. I'll talk about this and then we'll talk about central themes to Cancer. And so the Chariot is connected to our throat chakra, our ability to speak, our ability to express, our ability to communicate. You can see here that the charioteer is covered in moon symbology. And again, that is representative of the deep desire, the deep hidden emotion, the things that drive us from within, sometimes unknown to us if we're not doing the exploration, but still very tangible, very real, very present in our lives through the subconscious, manifesting in reality. And so the charioteer is going forward. He's driving his chariot forward. He's not looking backward, and he's not letting anything stand in his way. The charioteer is confident. He's moving forward with willpower, the direct power of his mind. You'll see that there's no reins on the sphinxes down here, which in the most real sense, right, black and white represents two sides, right? The light, the dark, the deep kind of down subconscious and the conscious mind. But the charioteer doesn't have reins on the Sphinx. He's driving them forward and directing their pathway by the sheer strength of his mind power, his willpower. And they are driven forward by the strength of the charioteer's convictions in himself, right? The charioteer cannot be concerned with what other people think or what other people say or what other people do, because they would never get anywhere. So this is representing strength of convictions, going forward with confidence, and the momentum driving us forward, right? And it that harkens back to what I said about, right, the deep inner emotions and the things that are immersed deep within inside us that we may not be aware of, right? The subconscious still driving our behavior forward, still driving our desires to the surface. And without deep introspection, we may not know what that is, but it is still driving us forward. In much the same way that the momentum made by the charioteer continues to push and drive the charioteer forward. And in this aspect, we come to understand why diving deep, immersing ourselves in the subconscious and discovering what is below the surface is so important, so that ultimately we are conscious about what's driving us forward. And we're not just moving forward unconsciously, driven by wild, untempered emotion. The central themes to Cancer, again, because the birthday month is between June 25 to July 2nd, that central theme of Cancer, again, feelings, emotions. But if you were born between June 25th to July 2nd, Your central theme is empath, the empath. If you were born between July 3rd to July 10th, your central theme is the unconventional. If you were born between July 11th and July 18th, your central theme is the persuader. And if you are a Cancer cusp, born between July 19th to July 25th, your central theme is oscillation. So you can do some research on that if you'd like, or if you are curious and would like to dive deeper about your central theme, check out my description box for a link to my Etsy shop, and we can schedule a reading for you. So again, we are going to be focusing in on a quick little birthday reading for the Chariot, for Cancer, for you. We are going to use the Sacred Traveler deck by Denise Linn to get a guidance card, focus us in the area of discovery, what journey we may be taking during this birthday season, and how that might be able to give us something to look forward to. So you've got two cards, Cancer: narrow pathway and unknown territory. So the narrow pathway encourages us to tread thoughtfully, right? When we are moving forward with a plan and we know exactly where we want to go, there's oftentimes only a couple of pathways to get there, right? And so we really do have to think about how we're going to get there, which direction will get us there the quickest, the fastest, with the least number of stops, while avoiding the most danger, right? And when we start to plan and become more intentional on how we travel to our North Node, the pathway does become smaller and smaller and smaller. And in order to reach a very specific and well-defined goal, we do have to follow a narrow road there, right? And we have to tread that pathway thoughtfully and carefully so that we don't get off track, so that we don't make a wrong turn, so that we don't encounter obstacles that we could have otherwise avoided. The second card is unknown territory, with the key phrase being, you are exactly where you need to be. And what that can mean, right, among many things, but what I interpret that to mean is that sometimes we're feeling lost. We don't really know where we are, right, on this narrow pathway, because it's so narrow, and we have to walk that narrow pathway. We can't take a turn into more known territory where we feel comfortable. We have to tread that narrow pathway, and it may take us into places where we are uncertain. If we're connecting this kind of back to Cancer, right? Immersing ourselves in the subconscious, into our emotions, into our feelings. We might be in a place where we've never ventured before. We might be experiencing emotions that we've never encountered before. And how do we manage those? What are we going to do with those emotions? That may be unknown territory. And Spirit is encouraging you to settle down. Don't be frightened, right? In the energy of the Chariot, use the strength of your convictions and know that you will attain victory as you wrestle through this. You're exactly where you need to be for where you want to go. And while that can be kind of intimidating, being in unknown territory, but that's exactly where you're supposed to be, battling these things, overcoming these obstacles, traveling down this bumpy road that you're not familiar with. Well, that's exactly where you should be. That's exactly where you should be. That can be hard to hear, but if we kind of take that and work with it a little bit, what that means is the universe, life, our spirit guides, our ancestors, our God, whoever you believe in, right? The divine is putting us in a position to forge all of the skills, all of the things that we need to come out the other end more ready to take that next step, right? More capable, more wise, stronger, faster. And so when you look at it like that, right, it's not saying that you're here in this scary spot and that's where you should be, so figure it out. It's saying you're in the scary spot and that's where you should be, because the experiences that are happening to you right now, you have the power to overcome. And once you overcome those, you're going to be bigger, stronger, smarter, faster, and you're going to destroy the competition, right? You are going to be well aligned with your North Node and pushing forward. And so having said that, Cancers, be comforted. Oh, holy moly. Be comforted that you are exactly where you need to be. It might be scary, it might be difficult, but do what crabs do, right? Tuck into your shell. Go deep within. Muster up the strength to survive the storm, to work through the obstacles, to fight the battle. And when you come back out, right, of that inner work, right, that immersion, you will have better perception. You might have a new outlook. And with that new outlook, you can traverse that narrow pathway and get out of unknown territory, because you stayed there and you worked through it. That unknown has now become known and familiar. So it's not scary anymore. So we're going to pull a few cards here to do a little birthday reading. This is the Four of Wands in reverse. So this past year could have been filled with some canceled reunions, right? In the upright, this is reunions, homecoming celebrations, the larger community, where you come from, the people that are there, right? That nostalgic kind of, this is where I grew up, this is where I'm from energy. In the reverse, it could be an upset to those things, right? This is where I'm from, and I hate it, right? These are the people that I grew up with, and they're just like, not my favorite anymore, right? But it could also be like leaving home. So it doesn't have to have a negative connotation. It could be about like outgrowing, right? Outgrowing these things and moving on. If we're talking about the energy of the Chariot, right, that fits really well. Sometimes we grow up, we realize that there's more out there in the world for us, and we leave, right? Not necessarily because things were unhappy or terrible, or, we had to break away to save ourselves, but just because things change, right? The crab outgrows its shell, it molts, and a new shell appears that is a better fit. So your year could have been fit or filled with things that needed to be realigned. Choices, the Lovers. This is major choices. This is love, soulmate, but it's more about choices we make, and the choices that we make needing to be filled with love, compassion, and optimism, not only for ourselves, but also when we consider these choices, because we know that the impact will have a large kind of reverberating impact. And so again, as we talk about the need for Cancer to find home, have home, nurture home, create that loving comfortableness, right? With the Four of Wands in reverse, it could be that in order to create that for ourselves, maybe having outgrown a place, our choice filled with love, our choice filled with compassion, our personal value systems led us to make this choice to strike out on our own, to leave home, maybe to leave behind an unhappy family situation, right? Could be. Only you know, right? This is your birthday reading. And in the energy of that, right, when we make choices for ourselves with a lot of thought behind it, standing our ground, right? We're convicted in those choices. We've made the thought. We've pondered the thought. We've examined the thought. We've talked about these thoughts to leave home, to strike out on our own, to find our own pathway forward, right? To find our own narrow pathway, right? We've talked about this with other individuals and thought about this ourselves, and now it's time to do it. Now it's time to stand our ground and move forward in the direction that we've chosen. And I think this lines up very well with the charioteer, because it is this standing up for your beliefs. It is this strength of your convictions. It is holding your own, maintaining control with the sheer strength of your mind, triumph of the human spirit, right? Triumphery over any obstacles, any battles that may be coming your way. While we are in unknown territory, while we are seeking some level of familiarity in a place that is unfamiliar. And so these combined could be speaking to a year of needing to strike out on your own, trying new things, developing new ideas, maybe having to battle against people that were trying to otherwise talk you out of it, right? But you, again, on this narrow pathway, away from home, away from an area where you feel comfortable, away from a state of mind that you found yourself living for 20 years, and now you realize, well, this state of mind, this state of being that is represented by home, right? This state of being is no longer serving me. I have outgrown this, as the crab outgrows its shell. And I've got to strike out on a new pathway, a new journey, possibly in unknown territory. And that can be very scary. But again, if you've made that choice, you've identified this as your personal desire made by your own personal authority and power over your life, and you've made that choice with compassion for yourself and for others that will be impacted, then move forward. Move forward with the strength of the chariot. Move forward knowing that you are convicted, right? You are, oh, look at that, returning to your roots. Okay, so this lines up fairly well with the Four of Wands, right? The Four of Wands is reunions, homecoming, the places, people, and things that are of our childhood, our past. And that is this energy. Nostalgia, reunions, innocence of our younger days, right? A level of immaturity, but not immaturity like, oh my God, you're being so damn immature, but more like immaturity and that childlike innocence that is present in all of us, right? That we all have to go through before we become a mature adult. And so if we're kind of thinking about this in connection to the moon, right? The tide ebbing and flowing, the chariot needing to drive forward, using momentum, right? Growing, making plans, deciding what the next step is, and going forward in that route. What do we have to leave behind? Well, our roots sometimes, right? You have to, like a tumbleweed almost, right? A tumbleweed will draw its roots up out of the ground and allow the wind to take it wherever it may go. And when it finds itself stuck or in need of water, it has the ability to stop and put roots back down to draw resources and nourishment up from the deep, just like what we were talking about before, right? Accessing that deepness, that subconscious, when the tumbleweed or us have gotten what we needed from that subconscious dive, we pull up those roots and we continue on. But in connection to the Six of Cups, there is a bit of it that has to be let go. We do have to let go the big parts of the past in order to be on our way towards the future. See if we can't get maybe one more card to speak to our Cancer birthday reading. And so Cancers, again, this past year, your solar return, it could have been filled with decisions that you've made, maybe struggled with, that ultimately decided, that ultimately required you to move forward. And with the energy of the Temperance angel, balance, a sense of balance might have been lost, right? When we move away from the things that we know and we're very familiar with, there is a sense of, well, what do I do now? Where do I go? Who am I? Right? But you are exactly who you need to be. You are exactly where you need to be. In order to do what? In order to alchemize the situation. The Temperance angel isn't just about peace, calm, tranquility, no obstacles, no struggle. I'm just peaceful because I can, ignore everything. No, this is taking the situation that we are in, right? Being in unknown territory, hearing the owls in the trees and the shadows over there and the cracking of the twigs and the leaves, and being scared and not knowing and feeling at any moment something's going to jump out of the shadows, right? And get us. But we alchemize that with the Chariot, the power of the Chariot, knowing that we are convicted in our pathway forward. We are strong, we are brave, we are the master of our own fate. And though we may be in this unknown territory and we may be scared, we're alchemizing that fear, that unknown, that missing piece that would give us peace. But we're alchemizing that with the energy of the Chariot. This strength, willpower, conviction, determination. And what we come up with after mixing our fear with our strength is a new shell, right? We came out of that a new person. We molted away from the shell that no longer fit us, right? We came in as a crab into this unknown territory, really scared and really unsure and having to leave things behind, right? In the energy of the Six of Cups, having to leave our roots behind in the energy of the Four of Wands in reverse, right? We had to leave home and the things that we knew, and we're now in uncharted territory, having to walk an extremely narrow pathway because I've never been here before. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to manage these situations, but I am the charioteer. I have the power to choose, and I choose to go forward triumphantly. And with that energy, triumph of the human spirit toward victory, no matter what obstacles stand in my way, no matter what things, no matter what people say, right? We alchemize that into personal power, into serenity, into balance and peace. And so, I got a little choked up there. You see, I'll motivate, speak somebody right into tears, okay? Including myself. But I think this speaks very well, Cancer, to not only who you are, right, as a person and how your sign represents you, but to challenges that we all face and that you may have been facing this past year, needing to make choices that are specific to you, right, that are going to help you grow from a baby crab into a grown-up crab, right, and leave things that are familiar, leave this kind of leaving the major part of your roots behind to move forward into whatever it is that's going to turn you into that adult crab. You can't grow up in the same environment that you've always been, right? There's nothing new there to challenge you. There's nothing there that's going to help you grow. It's going to be the same old thing every single day, a couple of little changes here and there. But if you don't strike out on your own, right? How will you know how strong you are? If you don't face unknown territory, new challenges, if you're not required to think, to act thoughtfully and battle our way through, right? Traverse these high mountains, battle our way through this winding road, how will you know how strong you are? We never know our own strength until it's tested. And I think just, again, knowing the strength of Cancers, right? But also this reading, I think this is telling us that you came out of maybe a year that was otherwise out of balance, right? Things were up, things were down. You really had to dig deep and alchemize the negative and the positive. You really had to find your way through what could have been, right? Chaos, having to stand your ground, having to defend your personal power about the choices that you've made that were specific for you to grow, to leave that familiar place. Maybe leaving home, like your actual hometown or your birth home, or just where you were as a person for so long, it felt like home, right? But I do believe that you came out on the other side stronger, smarter, and more capable. And that is the idea, right? That's what we talk about a lot here on this channel, is how are we growing? How are we becoming stronger? How are we developing our mind, body, spirit to traverse the narrow pathway to our North Node? We're all on a sacred journey back to our North Node. And in order to do that, Cancer, we really do have to grow. We have to leave. We have to grow. We have to fight. We have to tread these pathways carefully. We have to get caught in unknown territory and fight our way through to prove not only, right, to the universe, to God, to Source, to Spirit, that we are worthy of the prize that waits for us at our North Node, right? But also prove to ourselves that we can do anything we set our minds to. Well, that was your birthday reading. I found that very inspiring, very encouraging. I feel ready to go and take on the day full of challenges. And I hope that you do too. If this resonated with you, like this video, subscribe to my channel. If you would like a more in-depth personal reading, because this is definitely general for the larger collective, take a look at my description box below, and there is a link to my Etsy shop. Check out my offerings. If there's something that you want, but it's not quite there, just message me and we can definitely curate and make something that is special, unique, and 100% designed for you. Okay? Because you're worth it, Cancer. Boop, 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 boop. I hope to see you on the next video. Until then, I'm wishing you peace, love, and blessings. Happy birthday, Cancers!